Hello, my name is Erin Hoier, and this is my final differential equation project. So I decided to do my project on the hantavirus, which is a rare pulmonary disease in America that is carried by rodents. Symptoms are similar to that of the flu, with fever, chills, vomiting, nausea, muscle aches. However, this illness can lead to life-threatening conditions, especially with serious problems in heart and lungs. For my differential project, I decided to find the differential equation that shows the growth of the outbreak from the original case, or the original month with the first case, to the height of the outbreak. So not the outbreak as a whole, but just that first increasing period of it. So here's the data of hantavirus cases in America from its discovery in 1993 to the latest outbreak in 2022. And then here are a number of infections per state from 1993 to the most recent one in 2022. As you will see in all of the graphs in this presentation, I have the number of cases total, the number of deaths, number of recoveries, and the number of unknown outcomes for each year. I decided to focus on the number of cases alone for the exponential equation and the differential equation because I feel like this is the most important aspect in epidemiology. Although number of deaths and recovered from a illness is important, tracking outbreak numbers is essentially what I decided to focus on in this presentation. 1995 is going to be the first year that we look at. Its cases started in February and went until July. There is a nice linear growth from February to July, with a small dip in March. But other than that, there is a pretty steady increase from 2 cases to 4. 2000 had an even better, clear exponential growth from January to May with the height of the infection. With this one, it was a lot easier to create a exponential equation that really showed the increase of infections through this outbreak period. However, it is not perfect as we can see that there was a small decrease from March to April. In 2005, there was once again a very clear exponential growth from January to May. However, once again, this exponential equation, while it does give a pretty good idea for the generalized growth, since there was such a huge uptake in cases numbers in May compared to those of January, February, March, the same number of cases, only one, the exponential equation can be expected to be a little bit off. 2010, this is where the data gets a little bit funky and it's a little bit harder to create an actual exponential equation for it. As we can see, there is a nice little bell curve from January to July with a huge uptake in the outbreak in August. Because of this, the exponential equation cannot be defined as the best equation to symbolize this, but I decided to use this exponential equation as this way it will allow it to be comparable to other year outbreaks. In 2015, we once again see a better kind of exponential increase. However, because there is 3 years in a row, June through August, with the same amount of outbreak numbers, it is a little bit harder to create a perfect exponential equation for this one. However, once again, I'm using the same equation just so that it is a comparable k-value to the other years. 2020 is when we really start to see that decrease beginning, but we also see a lot of plateaus in the outbreak periods, with March and April and June and July all having only two numbers of infections for this outbreak. However, because there's a kind of linear growth from January to August, an exponential equation is an okay fit for this line or for this data, allowing us to kind of see a trend. 2022 is the most recent outbreak that has been seen in America. And as we can see, especially with this R value, an exponential line is not the greatest for this, especially as we can see how the outbreak numbers are a little bit skewed across the board, not having no real increase or decrease within this time period. So for this project, I decided to use this equation shown up top as it is a exponential growth equation, which is a really good equation to use to model outbreak numbers. For my project, I decided to find the k that best represents each data set shown in this presentation, and the k values should hypothetically decrease in value from the original outbreak in 1993 to the last confirmed outbreak in 2022. And this is because of advancements in medical technology, quarantine practices, stuff like this. T would be the entire time frame of the outbreak, so from the onset date to the height of it. PO is the number of most of outbreaks in the first month, and PT is the number of cases in the height of the outbreak. And so for the K values, I have my equation chart set up here showing uh, the time in months, the original values, and the final values of outbreak numbers. As we see, there is a small increase from 1995 to 2005 in cases, and that could be because this is a relatively new um, virus at this point, meaning that there's not a lot of research or knowledge behind treatment methods. However, from 2010 to the most recent outbreak, we can see that there is a great decrease in the K value, showing that whatever medical practices are in place, such as quarantine, vaccinations, cleanliness, are doing their job in decreasing the spread and decreasing the ailment of this virus. So with the differential equation in this, it can be used to show the um, outbreak progression throughout the years, throughout decades, and it can be helped to kind of track the trend of how this disease is progressing.